All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm on Lake Chickamauga, and I've got my fishing buddy here hanging out on the back deck there. And just wanted to get out here. We've got some intermittent clouds and sunshine here. We've got some clouds that are supposed to get a little bit thicker pretty soon here. But I wanted to fish shallow. I've been fishing offshore, and that's my favorite way to fish this time of year, which it's late June. But there's also another bite that happens during this time of year, you know, late June, early July. We get a shallow grass bite that you can throw a frog around. I'm going to be throwing the Z-Man Leap Frogs. And it's a certain type of grass that we get here on Lake Chickamauga. I call it pepper grass. It goes by a lot of different names. But we're gonna fish that. It's a little bit different than fishing the matted out hydrilla that we get later in the year. And sometimes it's not good for a bunch of great big bites, but it's still a lot of fun to go catch some fish. So let's get started. All right, so here on Chickamauga, we've got this type of grass. I'm not sure what it's called. I call it pepper grass. A lot of people call it deer tongue. There's a lot of different names for it, but I'm not sure of the exact name. But it essentially has these little willow leaves on the surface, little willow leaf shaped leaves, and then it has, you know, it creates a dense canopy on top, but it also has a lot of room for fish to move around underneath. But it's just a great way to catch fish, especially in June and July. It's just a really good type of cover, and on a cloudy day like today, that's when you can catch them pretty darn good. So I don't know if we're gonna catch them in it today. I haven't really got on this bite this year, but I mean, the canopy looks great, and man, cloud cover, it's a really good day for it. It's not like your real dense canopy that you'd expect from like a matted hydrilla flat or something like that. Oh, had a little bite, barely nipped at it, almost like a gar, but not a whole lot of gar in this stuff. Oh, hit it again. There he is. Oh, 3 times. Took 3 times. What do you think about that, Doppler? Oh man, he didn't even really get that either. Look at that. Cooked him in the chin. Leap Frogs has got some really nice sharp hooks in there, and it collapses really good. But that right there, not a big one, but man, I was persistent with them. Had to cast to him 3 times to get him to bite. But man, that was fun. That was fun indeed. So we can catch them in the pepper grass right now. So one of the most important things about this bite is really just being able to read the grass. You know, you're gonna have areas, oh, that's a gar. You're gonna have areas that the grass creates a thinner canopy, and then areas that have a thicker canopy. And sometimes you're gonna have, you know, a stretch of grass that's gonna be more consistent. But here you can see we got thinner grass mixed in with the thicker canopies, and that's really what I like to see. And really I'm making my cast around those real thick canopies. The reason I like having a little bit of thinned out areas in between the thicker patches is because it helps me kind of eliminate a lot of the water, and those fish are going to be really grouped up in those real thick patches. And so it's just about putting the frog in a high percentage spot, and having that mixture of grass thicknesses really helps you do that. One thing you're going to notice about how I fish this bait is I like to fish it, woo, getting in a fight there. I like to fish it really fast. You know, this is not as dense of a canopy as that matted hydrilla and you know, a canopy that has like a bunch. Oh golly, power pull down, talking. All right, sometimes you can make a second presentation and catch them. When you get to the, man, he hit it hard too. God, I thought he had it. I wasn't paying attention. Come on. Sometimes if you slow down the second time, you're out of luck. Darn it. That was fun. But yeah, as I was saying, you know, I like to fish it very, very fast because we're not talking about a real dense canopy, so the fish can actually get a good look at the bait. So I like to fish it really fast and make sure it has a walking action. You're not just pulling it forward where the frog's kind of just porpoising and pulling forward. You're actually getting a little bit of a side-to-side action to it. And that seems to get the best bites in this type of grass. And like at the Lake Chickamauga event last year, man, I was working it so fast, it was wearing me out, let me tell you. Another big key is you just noticed with that fish that short striked me, you know, make sure that you use your power poles. This is the perfect situation to use your power poles and put them down and make sure you work an area real thoroughly before moving on. Because oftentimes it might take several more presentations for that fish to fire back up and get aggravated enough. Doppler, you're making a bunch of noise. You're just making too much noise, buddy. That's actually another thing, is you definitely want to be very, very quiet, you know, when you're doing this presentation. You know, keep your trolling motor. Right now I got my Motor Guide Tour Pro on 4, you know, between 3 and 4. Find that speed that, you know, it is real quiet. Make sure that your prop, I've got the Katana prop on there, and it's got no nicks in it that'll catch grass and create extra noise. Really, really super important to have a trolling motor that's quiet and can go through grass real efficiently and quiet too, if you did have to, you know, get in that grass. Come on, fish. Feeling good. I think we're gonna catch them pretty good. One thing I pay attention to anytime I'm fishing a frog is listening for bluegill popping. If you start hearing bluegill popping, you need to sometimes learn the difference between bluegill and carp. If carp are slurping on the surface, they sound like a bluegill, but just a little bit louder. But bluegill popping in a grass mat is one of the best things you can hear during frog fishing, because that means that there's gotta be some bass around. I mean, you know, 9 times out of 10, if I hear a bunch of bluegill popping in one certain stretch of grass mat, that's where I'm gonna get the bites. And often you'll get a bunch of bites too. So really pay attention to those sound cues, especially when it comes to bluegill. There he is. Oh. It's always when you turn away that they hit. Man, look at those hooks. Great thing about the leapfrogs is it compresses so well. It's got some really good hooks in it. And my hooking percentage is really, really good. There's some frogs on the market that are just, you know, pretty dense plastic, a little bit harder to compress, but I get a really good hooking percentage with those. See, buddy? I think that surprised both me and Doppler. That was cool. That was cool. Just real skinny water. I mean, that was literally inches of water, probably like 10 inches of water right there. Crazy. One thing that's really different from fishing hydrilla mats is the fact that hydrilla mats, you can find those frog trails. This stuff, you know, it doesn't keep that frog trail visible. It just kind of folds over, so you don't know who's hit what area, how many times. and you don't get as many blow up holes in this stuff, because as soon as a fish blows up and creates a hole, it'll just kind of fold back on itself. So you don't get those cues as much, telling you how productive an area is. You know, I've already mentioned the trolling motor, and I mean, yeah, I'm sponsored by Battleborn Batteries, but I gotta tell you, this is 100% the truth. Like, having lithium batteries is such a must if you're fishing through these grass mats. I mean, because the thing about regular lead acid batteries is the fact that the power curve, the power will just drop off by the end of the day. So you're just consistently losing power, and by the end, you know, some certain point in the day, it may not even be the end of the day, it might be the middle of the day, you're just gonna not have enough power to power through these grass mats. But you know, with lithium, you've got a flat power curve. It stays at 100% all day long. And I mean, that is, to me, has been one of the biggest benefits of switching to lithium, is just that consistent power all day long. Not having to worry about, you know, am I gonna be able to get through the grass? Am I gonna be able to fish where I need to fish, you know, at the end of the day? So that's something to think about if you're kind of, you know, playing with the idea of switching to lithium. If you fish grass lakes, man, it's really important. I mean, I've only got it on 4 right now, but I'd normally need about 100% to get through it with regular lead acid. Look at that deer. Is that deer your friend? Oh, gizzard shad. Oh my gosh, look at all the gizzard shad running through here. That's insane. There he is. Oh, gosh, he barely hit that at all. That was not an explosion. Of course, he's kind of tiny too, so don't blame him. But they're all fun to catch on a frog. All fun to catch on a frog. Man, this spot is pretty darn textbook. I mean, you got this circle for whatever reason. That is completely clear, and then you get these little areas of thicker grass. Pretty textbook. Ooh, ooh. Got a knot in the braid. There he is. Golly, man. When they hit it, they just destroy it. Little guy. You know, that's the one thing I've seen about this bite, is some days you can just catch little ones, and then you can go back and catch absolute giants. So just depends on the mood of the fish and where they're feeding that day. Today it seems like we got small ones, but it sure is fun. All right, guys, so let's dive right into the tackle. And first off, before we get started, I want to mention that all of this tackle is available at 44tackle.com. Take advantage of their free shipping for orders over $35. They're just a great place to shop. But let's dive right into the frog setup here. We're starting out with, of course, the Z-Man Leap Frogs. This is the walking version and the larger of the two sizes. I like the larger size. I really can work that well through this cover. And when I'm fishing in the thicker stuff, it doesn't get, you know, as lost as the smaller one does. I think the fish can track it a lot better in this type of cover. But this right here, this is the old school color. Love that color. It's got a nice yellow belly to it. It blends in really well, because all these leaves are like green, orange, and brown, and that's the exact color combination that's on old school. So just matching the hatch by kind of blending in with the cover here. Really good frog. The thing I love about the leaf frogs is it's got a really compressible body, so I get a really good hooking percentage, and it's also got really strong hooks on it. So, and that matched with the fact that it walks really good. It's just a really good frog. I love it. This frog setup that we're using here for this pepper grass, or whatever it's called, is a little bit different than what I would throw for fishing over matted hydrilla, or, you know, those really dense milfoil mats, you know, especially those ones that have a lot of algae, that cheese on the surface. In those situations, I'm going to be using really heavy tackle, like flipping stick and 65-pound braid. But in this situation, we're going to be using a slightly shorter rod, and still a pretty, you know, heavy power rod, but a little bit shorter to get more accurate casts, and to also get a really good walking action out of that bait. And so the rod that I'm using today is the Fitzgerald Fishing all-purpose 7.3 heavy action rod. This is a really good one for anytime you're fishing a hollow body frog in open water situations, trying to skipping underneath you know, overhanging trees, and also fishing kind of medium duty grass situations like we're fishing today. That is my rod of choice, and it has the perfect tip to be able to work that bait, make accurate casts, and it also has that backbone to get those fish out of the cover. So love this rod for this type of situation. And of course, since we're frog fishing, we're going to be using braided line. It's a little bit lighter braid than what I would throw for really dense matted out hydrilla. Instead of using 65-pound, I'm going to be using 50-pound. This is 50-pound Seagar Smackdown, and the reason I like the 50-pound is because it casts long distance, but it also gives that bait a little bit looser, you know, better walking action. So that's the size that I like, and I have no problem getting the biggest fish out of this type of cover with 50-pound. And then the reel that I spooled that on, this is the Fitzgerald VLD10. I'm using the 8.1 to 1 gear ratio. Now, if I was fishing really heavy cover where I really wasn't trying to work that bait super fast, but I also wanted that you know, that torque, that lower gear ratio to get those fish, crank them out of that cover, I'd be going to something like a 7.2 to 1. But with this, where I'm just trying to cover a lot of water, 8.1 to 1 is really good. And I think that pretty much covers it. That is the setup for fishing the frog in this pepper grass style grass we got out here on Lake Chickamauga. You know, today got quite a few bites. They're mostly small, but they're still a lot of fun. But I will tell you, if you're coming to Lake Chickamauga and you're looking for something to do that isn't out there offshore, or you're just not having luck out offshore, check out this shallow emergent grass bite that happens during early summer and kind of all the way through, you know, mid-July. It's a really good way to catch some fish, and it's a lot of fun. And some days you catch giants, but today just little fish, but it was a lot of fun. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. If you want to support this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And if you have any questions about frog fishing, Lake Chickamauga, whatever it may be, drop a comment below. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to see you out on the water.